Welcome to another edition of Wealth Without Borders. And today I'm delighted to have with me Zach Lichtblau. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Thank you.
Good to have you
Pleasure
here.
to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And great. I always ask this, where in the world are you and what's the weather like today?
Well, I'm in Shanghai, and the weather is really nice today. After a very scorching summer, it's starting to look better.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're neighbours, in fact.
Yeah.
So I have the same view out my window, probably. So for those of you who don't know Zach's a Shanghai partner at Bonnard Lawson. They're an international law firm, and he's one of the partners in Equasia, and that provides consulting and corporate secretarial services in Hong Kong and in China. And the title of today's podcast is Corporate Structuring and Restructuring in China. So as you know, Zach, I've got 8 questions in just 8 minutes. I run a very tight ship, so I've got a little stop clock here to keep us to time. So are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do this.
Fantastic. So question number 1, who is your ideal client?
So my ideal client is an international company or entrepreneur who needs legal support in China or who requires corporate solutions in China or Hong Kong. We provide comprehensive support to companies in all stages of their existence, including handling labor issues, regulatory compliance, intellectual property issues, and corporate and commercial disputes. But my focus is on corporate structuring and restructuring, and this is what we'll be talking about today mainly. And that means that my ideal client is either a company that wishes to set up a joint venture with another company, or wishes to acquire another company, or wishes to restructure or divest from an existing collaborative joint venture. Okay,
fantastic. So comprehensive services you offer there. 7 minutes and 8 seconds remaining. Question number 2, what's the problem that you solve, Zach?
So we help clients in structuring their legal entities in China and in dealing with corporate disputes. So this could be a plain vanilla company set up, but it could also be a structuring of a joint venture, which would include guiding our clients regarding the legal requirements of Chinese law in relation to these types of structures. We would also be advising the clients on risk factors, corporate governance issues, and in later stages of a company's life, we might be handling disputes, which we, of course, hope will not occur between business partners. And companies face different problems depending on their specific sets of circumstances, but our understanding of the legal environment and our experience on both the setup phase and when there are problems give us the skill set that we need to guide the clients through the maze of corporate disputes.
Okay, and I can speak to that because I've heard you speaking and I know you're an encyclopedia when it comes to those matters. 6 minutes remaining. Question number 3. Yeah. What are the typical symptoms people experience who have the problem in China of structuring and restructuring?
So if someone comes to us in the setup phase, it is normally better, and the problems that they face is basically the not understanding the legal environment or the risks that they're taking. So this is something that we can easily take care of. But if we focus on the situations go wrong, this could be manifested differently for different people. But in severe cases, it could mean that the business is not going well, and they're having problems separating from their partners, or there could be a full-blown breakdown of the relationship, and they're basically stuck with the legal entity which is not serving their interests and mounting liabilities. Right,
so better to see you sooner than later. 5 minutes and 8 seconds remaining. Question number 4, what are the common mistakes people make when trying to solve that problem?
So the most common mistakes are not realizing the risks and not protecting themselves when structuring the business from liabilities that could emerge when things go wrong. Another common mistake is not knowing your business partner and not understanding their motivations when entering the relationship. Misaligned expectations are the number one reason things go wrong in a joint venture in later stages. Of course, people can also set up everything right and things would still go wrong. because of personal differences or because they did not realize that there's a divergence of interest at a certain point in time. But I would say it is very important to keep on paying attention to the business relationship and not assume that no news is necessarily good news.
Fantastic. Okay, 4 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Question number 5. What's one valuable free action that people checking out the show today can implement that will help them solve some, at least, of that problem?
Well, I wouldn't call it a solution, but I would say before entering a long-term business relationship, I would recommend that people stop for a second and examine whether the relationship is likely to be stable in the long run. You need to understand the incentives of both sides and create what we call mutual friendly leverage. That means a relationship that does require active participation from the partners in the long term and not just in the early stages. Right. That would make a relationship more stable and less likely to fall apart in later stages.
Okay, great. 3 minutes 20 remaining. Question number 6. What's one valuable free resource you can direct people to that will further help them with this problem?
So at the risk of doing blatant self-promotion, I would suggest myself as the free resource. Of course, our services are not free, but I'm happy to provide your listeners with the free introductory consultation if they need to either structure or restructure a business, and if they encounter any difficulties in the running of a business in China.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Zach. And 2 minutes 40 remaining. Question number 7. What concept or book or program or talk has been most impactful in your own experience?
Yeah, so I actually like to read, and I don't want to limit people to just one book. But there's a book that I enjoyed early on when I just started, which is Mr. China by Tim Clissold. It mainly takes place in the 90s, so it's not really describing the China of today, but I'm also a strong believer in people having a good historical background on the way things were in the past. If you want to dive further back, I would also recommend a book called Imperialism, Imprisoned, The Fate of British and French Firms in China from 1949 to 1954. That was written by my academic mentor, Professor Aaron Shai from Tel Aviv University. It's a good read about what happened in China in the past to understand a little bit what's going on in today's China.
Okay, well, as a Brit myself, I gulped when I heard that title.
Yes.
28 remaining. The last question, question 8. What's the one question that I should have asked you that you feel will give great value to people checking out the show?
Well, I actually found your questions to be very comprehensive and giving me quite a lot of leeway in describing what I wanted to describe. But I guess you could have asked me to share a war story or example of how things went wrong with in a situation that we handled. And I'm not sure how much of it I will be able to still describe, but I can tell you that we had a client that came into our office and told us something is going very wrong with our office in China, but I don't know what's going on. And then when we went with him, we escorted him. He flew in from Dubai, and we took him to his own company that was run by his partners, and he was not allowed in the building. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that the partner that he was doing business with was not very honest, and was actually managed to move the entire business onto a different company that was owned by his wife. So it was technically under a different name.
Goodness
he moved all the employees there, not before paying them huge bonuses and paying their mobile phone bills for a year going forward. And that was a very interesting thing to go through, but we helped.
Yeah. Oh, well, perfect timing for a salutary story for all those entering China to be really careful about that. What an extraordinary story, and I'm sure you have many of them, Zach.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your really valuable advice and some free stuff. People will follow, I'm sure, follow you up with that. So thanks, Zach, for taking part.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Many thanks for checking out Wealth Without Borders podcast. I'd love you to head over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review. And if you'd be kind enough to do that, I would really appreciate it. And then if you want to know more about what I do, check out wealthwithoutborders.net.